I've been a little bit down in the dumps. I'm thinking barbecue, right? I mean, the first thing I think of when I put my nose into this wine is frickin' barbecue. A lot of really tense emotional moments. Strawberry, cranberry, cherry. Those guys they're heavy on my heart.
The liquid culture.
What's up, everybody? Thank you for being here with me again on another episode of the Liquid Culture, episode 3, live at you from the Texas wine country. Still figuring it out. Didn't like last week's episode, the echo in the tasting room, so I've moved back outside. Slightly different setting from my first ep that I filmed outside, but yeah, still figuring it out. Not crazy happy with the lighting. I'll probably just need to figure out a different time of day to film, but we're working on it. Today's episode is an episode that I wanted to film as something that's one of my favorite grapes, one would say, favorite wines, favorite grapes, Cabernet Franc, and in particular Cabernet Franc from the Loire Valley. Reason that I wanted to do this set today was because, again, it is my favorite grape, and I've been a little bit down in the dumps the last couple of days, and I'll tell you why. My wife and I, we binged season 3 of Stranger Things in about 2 or 3 days. I'm a little bit mad at myself for doing that. Really should have drug it out a little longer because it's been a couple of days now, and all I can do is sit here and just think about those, the gang, the Stranger Things gang. I think that season 3 was probably the best season in my humble opinion. A lot of really tense emotional moments in season 3, and those guys they're heavy on my heart. And been a little down in the dumps. Might have to rewatch the whole season again. Who knows? But wanted a little something to pick up my spirits, and Cabernet Franc always seems to do that for me. So for Cabernet Franc, guys, the way I wanted to do it was very similar to the episode that I did on Mourvedre. So Mourvedre is another one of my favorite grape varietals. What I did with that episode was I talked with you guys a little bit about the Mourvedre grape and the way that you can expect for it to taste and some different permutations, but I went and focused specifically on one region that does Mourvedre. In particular, for that video, it was Texas. For this one, I'm going with the area in the world that does the best versions of single varietal Cabernet Franc. So what do I mean by that? Cabernet Franc is a grape that you generally find as a small piece, sometimes a large piece of a blend. It is one of the allowable grapes in the Bordeaux blend, and you see it grown a lot there. You see it done a lot in Napa Valley, where it is incorporated into that Bordeaux blend with Cabernet and Merlot, but they also do it a little bit in Napa as a single varietal. The place that you see it done the most as a single varietal is in the Loire Valley. And if you've watched my Chenin Blanc episode, you will know that Loire Valley is quite a diverse wine region in France. It's northwest France, so for you guys it's up here. Northwest France, and it's broken into 4 sub-regions, and within each of those sub-regions there are countless appellations, all doing a variety of different wine. The predominant red wines that you will find from the Loire Valley are made with Cabernet Franc. Sometimes there are some Gamay, some Pinot Noir, some Cabernet, and a lot of times they're blended. So predominantly when you find a single varietal red wine from the Loire Valley, chances are it is going to be Cabernet Franc. So why do I love Cabernet Franc so much? So Cabernet Franc is a grape that takes on a lot of kind of standard flavor profiles and aromas like you would get in, say, a Cabernet Sauvignon. Sometimes you get some of these profiles in Syrah or Shiraz, sometimes in Gamay, but a lot of kind of good red fruit characteristics, sometimes some spice characteristics, sometimes some tobacco, some earthy things, but what really sets Cabernet Franc apart from other red grapes is it takes on a very vegetal quality. Think like a vegetable garden, guys, like literally one that you may be like growing in your own backyard, or like in the countryside by some small time farmer who's using like legitimate manure as his compost in his vegetable garden. I mean, they're funky, earthy, vegetal. A lot of pyrazines, which come through as bell pepper, jalapeno pepper, roasted red peppers, and then you get some of these kind of celery and pea, like English pea qualities in Cab Franc sometimes. And in the Loire Valley, what you have in particular is a very cool, relatively cool growing environment. So a lot of times they're in a lighter style red wines, higher acidity, so nice and sharp, crisp, fresh. A lot of times you drink them kind of chilled down. That's really my preferred way of drinking Cab Francs from the Loire Valley, and I've got 3 of them here today. Now, one thing that I do want to say before we dive into the wines, I did not include a Chinon. So for those of you out there who may be familiar with the Loire Valley, you may be wondering if there's going to be a Chinon in here. Chinon is an appellation in the central Loire, specifically in Touraine, and Chinon is where you will be find the most readily available Loire Valley Cabernet Franc wines here in the States. Reason being is that in Chinon, they make their Cabernet Franc a little bit more akin to a New World style. It's more opulent, creamy, juicy, a little bit more powerful with tannin and body. And that to me is I think the reason you can find them so much is because that kind of suits our palate here in the States. It's a little bit more of a New World style of Cabernet Franc. And I didn't want to include that today because I feel like that's not what I'm going after. What I'm going after today is Cabernet Franc from some more obscure regions in the Loire Valley. Not necessarily obscure regions, but places that aren't necessarily known worldwide for Cabernet Franc. And more well known for their white wines and things of that nature. But I'm really excited about the 3 wines we have. So I don't want to drag on for too long. If you want to know more, as always, check the site, look at the write-up. You can learn more about all of the appellations that we're including today, more about the Loire Valley and Cabernet Franc, so on and so forth. So let's get into the wines. I wanted to start with Anjou. So this is Domaine de la Bergerie, La Cirassai 2017 Anjou. Again, Loire Valley. This is the sub-region is Anjou-Saumur. Anjou-Saumur. Here, let me show you guys this. I drew up a cool little map for you guys here. Check it out. So today we are going to be working in the 2 center regions. You can see there's the 4, there's 2 bookends there. We're not looking at those guys today. Those are predominantly white wine. Today we're focusing on the 2 center parts of the Loire Valley. This one in particular is from Anjou-Saumur, and in particular the appellation of Anjou. So what do we have with this wine? 2017, pretty young, $20 bottle. That's one thing about Loire Valley Cabernet Francs. They're very unique and interesting and funky. So they don't demand the high prices that us New World wine drinkers are generally expecting to pay for something that's going to blow our socks off. So let me start by saying, Loire Valley Cabernet Franc, you're gonna either love it, you're gonna either hate it, but regardless, it's a value wine. So you can go out, you can buy a bottle for 20 bucks, and you can see what you think. That way, if you do find that you like it, you've got a little cache of $20 to $40 bottles that you can just buy up. If you don't like it, you didn't spend too much money to find out that you don't like it. So, right off the bat, on this 2017, it's straight up farmer's market, guys. I mean, go back to that vegetable garden. It's got raspberry in there. It's got strawberry, but there's this hint of like carrots and celery underneath that you would get like if you order some buffalo wings and they bring you the little boat of carrots and celery. Kind of has a little bit of that going on. Throw a little handful of gravelly dirt on top of that, and you might be getting close to what this smells like here. but it's very bright. It's very fresh. It smells, again, it smells like the farmer's market. It smells like I'm about to bite into something really fresh from the heart. And the color is like... So, guys, we had to move inside here because apparently having your camera sitting in the sun for too long overheats it and it shuts off right in the middle of filming. Not only that, but I guess the wine decided to heat up to a temperature that no longer made Cab Franc enjoyable. So that whole outside thing is going to be pretty short-lived, at least in the Texas summer. It's still not that bad outside, but for whatever reason, I don't know. So back inside with the Echo, and we're back on this Anjou Cab Franc here. I was talking a little bit about the color. The other wines are in the fridge cooling down right now, but we can keep going on this this Anjou while we're waiting on those to cool down. But with the with the color, really nice light color. It really, from just looking at it, smelling it, just a wine that begs to be gulped. Not even having tasted it yet, but yeah, a lot of fresh fruit and some of these kind of like green vegetables coming through as well. So there is that vegetal, a lot of fruit though on the nose, a lot of that raspberry, strawberry on the palate. It's very savory. It does not taste like you're biting into a fresh strawberry or just popped a handful of fresh raspberries into your mouth. It's got a very broccoli, a very like sugar snap pea type of thing going on. There's even a little bit of this kind of like bitter tobacco that I'm getting, almost like a not so great cigar that's not very smooth and creamy, one that kind of bites you in the back of the throat when you're smoking it. I like tobacco in my wines generally, but not whenever it's this kind of bitter thing going on. So I don't know what my thoughts are. Let me see. So I poured another glass of this just because it had gotten so warm, and hoping that the bottle would still be a little cold. It warmed up a little bit too much, and it's kind of ruining the Cab Franc experience for me. But I think that bitter thing is really kind of not, I'm not really a fan of that. This is again, like I mentioned before, this is a $20 bottle of Cab Franc. I would say a very entry-level, approachable version of Cab Franc, but I think that, I don't know, maybe this bottle is just still a little too young, even though Cab Franc does like to be consumed fresh and bright and young. This one, not my favorite, still not bad, but not my favorite. So let's go get those other wines out of the fridge. And we're back. So, did the first one, Anjou. Moving on to the second wine, we are going to get a little bit of a rinse here, just to have fresh glass. And I think I got the wines back down to at least a serviceable temperature for the time being. Up next, we are going to be moving to a different appellation within the same part of the Loire Valley. So this is Saumur-Champagny. So this is actually a red wine only smaller appellation within the greater appellation of Saumur, in the subregion of Anjou-Saumur in the Loire Valley. So this is the La Porte Saint-Jean, and this is a wine that is going to be slightly more expensive because it comes from such a tiny wine producing area. Everything involved is a little bit pricier, so naturally the wines are going to be a little bit pricier. But this is a wine that, again, $40. We're slightly lower in alcohol at 12.5. The first wine was 13%, and then this is a 2016 as opposed to the 2017 that we had from Anjou. This wine is smelling a little bit more of that. I'm getting much more of that bell pepper, that pyrazine bell pepper spiciness. I'm thinking barbecue, right? I mean, the first thing I think of when I put my nose into this wine is frickin' barbecue. Not because it smells like barbecue, but because this wine I want to pair with barbecue immediately after smelling it. It's got this peppery, smoky thing going on, a little vegetal quality, a little bit more towards the darker fruits. It's a little hazy in its color. This wine is bottled unfined and unfiltered. And it's actually aged in some new oak a little bit, whereas the first wine saw 0 new oak. I like that. It does still have a little bit of that tight finish on the back, but this one's a little bit more plush. The acidity is really nice. Tannin is really nice. It's not high. They're both in that kind of, I'd say the tannin's about medium. The acidity is a little bit like medium plus. And this one really is very characteristic Cabernet Franc. I think that what we have with this wine is something that if you are looking to see what a Cabernet Franc from the Loire Valley tastes like, if you're trying to figure out, is this something that I think I might like, this is a bottle that I think you would for sure want to pick up, because I think that this is very reminiscent of what I'm used to with Cabernet Franc. A lot of that bell pepper, I mean, strong bell pepper, blackberries, brambly, a little bit of tobacco, but not the bitter tobacco that we had, at least so much with the first wine. There is still a little bitterness on the back end, but it's not bad. It's not blowing the wine for me because it does have that supple quality to it. A little chocolate too. A little bit of like, I think the bitterness on this one's coming almost like a bitter, like a dark chocolate, which is nice. Next wine. Okay, so this is from the Bretons here, based in Vouvray. If you've seen my Chenin Blanc video, you have seen a bottle of wine from these guys. This is a Cabernet Franc that comes from Bourgogne, which is one of the more classic red wine producing areas of the Loire Valley. One that people will, if you ask, somebody who knows wine, where in the Loire Valley to look for Cab Franc, they would tell you Chinon, as we mentioned before. They would tell you Bourgogne. So I would say that whereas the last wine we drank, the Saumur Champagny, that is a red wine only producing area, but it is still not so much thought of when people talk about Cabernet Franc from the Loire Valley. Chinon and Bourgogne are the two places where you do see that. If you've seen the Chenin Blanc video, you will know that the Bretons they are organic vineyards. They are hand harvested. They're like a younger kind of winemaking family to that area, and they're doing a lot of stuff in that kind of thing that millennials like, the very kind of natural style of winemaking, and they do a pretty good job. So this one's color much darker. So one of the things that we talk about when we're looking at different subregions, different appellations, to try and figure out what is it about those regions that makes wine unique there as opposed to somewhere else. So if the way that I actually kind of situated this tasting was really going from west to east in terms of where the appellations were situated within the Loire Valley. So on the far west, you have the Atlantic Ocean. So as the further west you go, the more maritime influence, the cooler the temperatures, the less ripe the grapes get. You start moving in, you get to Bourgogne, you are at a place A little warmer temperatures, a little riper grapes, a little less maritime influence, and the soils, you start to run into some more kind of gravelly clay limestone soils as opposed to the kind of schist sandy soils that you get further west. So, I mean, just looking at it already, we've got a darker color. Really faint nose here. The first two wines, the nose was really exploding out of the glass. With this wine, you really have to dive in. There's a little bit of pyrazine, a little bit of kind of peppery bell pepper thing, and a little bit of strawberry, cranberry, cherry. I'm really having to dive in here. A little rocky. Really difficult to get a nose on it. Let's taste it. Super short finish. Tannin is for sure stronger on this one than on the first two. I gotta be honest, guys, I'm a little bit disappointed in the showing today. A little bit disappointed in the wines. I was kind of hoping for a little bit of a pick-me-up. And I was talking about my kind of down in the dumps on Stranger Things being over, and was really looking for a pick-me-up. And I don't think any of these wines really did it for me. Unfortunately, that really sucks because Cab Franc is one of my favorite grapes, and was really hoping that I'd have one here that I could really put you guys a hard wreck on. But honestly, I'm thinking I'm gonna have to redo Cab Franc, guys. I'm gonna have to redo Cab Franc because none of these really brought the thunder that I was hoping that they would bring. I would say if there's one that I really enjoyed, it might be the Semnour Champagny, I would say. I'm gonna have to revisit these wines though. I'm gonna revisit these wines, get them a little bit more chill, and kind of go from there, and see if maybe things develop for me a little bit better. I don't know, maybe all the screw ups and everything kind of mess things up on the episode today, but we'll revisit them, and I would say look for the tasting notes in the write-up because there might be some changes from what you saw in the video today with these wines after I've chilled them down and tasted them a little bit more. So appreciate you guys being here with me today. Liquid Culture, Mitchell Chirac. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.